So hello guys to another video, and as you probably already know from the title, we're gonna talk about Morrowind. So, Morrowind, the first Elder Scrolls game that I've played. After sinking hundreds and hundreds of hours into Morrowind, I played Arena, I played Daggerfall, then I played Oblivion, and I'm currently still playing Skyrim. I think Skyrim is a good game. The modding potential is limitless, essentially. And you know my opinion on the Elder Scrolls Online. I just don't like it because it's not an Elder Scrolls game. It's an MMO with an Elder Scrolls paint job. Simple as that. It's not an Elder Scrolls game. But Morrowind is my favorite Elder Scrolls game up to date. Skyrim is really good, and I've already played more Skyrim than I've played Morrowind, but Morrowind has a special place in my heart for me. Simply because I was much younger. Here's the story. Sit down and get your snacks. So, here's the story. When I first played Morrowind, it was because my father, I was like 14, 15, just 14s, 15s, 14, 15, somewhere around that age, I think. Maybe I was older. I'm not quite sure. But I was young, so my father bought a new graphics card, and Morrowind was packed with the graphics card. This is how I got Morrowind, and this is how I got into Elder Scrolls game. So he was like, I don't really like these kind of games. Have it. I was like, oh my god, a new game. Because my father was more into stuff like Tomb Raider and games like that. So, or Indiana Jones, I remember that. So I got Morrowind. And at that time, because I was so young, I couldn't speak English very well. I learned some basic stuff in elementary school, but I just didn't understand the game at all. Now imagine playing an Elder Scrolls game like Morrowind in a language you do not understand. With Skyrim, it's not that difficult because of the floating marks and all the help the game gives you. But with Morrowind, basically all the quests are based in the dialogue. You have nothing else. You have the dialogue, then you have the journal system, and that's it. You don't have any floating marks or anything. So you either have to understand English or you just can't do quests. It's as simple as that. You can guess and maybe finish one or two quests, but not many. So you just can't really play the game, quest in that game and understand what's going on without, having the ability to understand English. Now, I didn't understand English, but my first playthrough, I played over 100 hours. And this is how it worked. I came home from school, or from college? From high school. From high school. I came home from either elementary school or high school. I don't remember. Okay, I don't remember. I think it was in elementary school though. So I came home and I had a notepad right next to my computer where I basically took notes about the game. When something had a picture associated with it, I kind of understood that, okay, so, endurance does this, or speed does this, and this does that. So I had all the different notes. I had pages and pages of notes written down of what things mean, and every time I went adventuring I had this notepad with me, and every time I found something that sounded familiar and I just was like, well, I don't know what's going on, I just went through the notepad and I was like, aha, that's the word right there, that's what it means, good. So that's how I played Morrowind, and I still put over 100 hours. I think I have the notepad somewhere. I think I had like 50, 60 pages just of bullshit written down, and my kind of trying to deduce what they mean. So that was how I played the game. I just sat down every time I figured something out. I was like, holy shit, I figured something out, and I wrote it down so I knew it later. That's how I played the game. And that also means that I couldn't do too many quests. Okay, the first playthrough, I think might have done accidentally 10, 20 quests maybe in Morrowind, and that was it. over 100 hours of just exploring, trying to find new cool stuff, trying to kill guards in Vivek because they had cool armor and stuff like that. Just exploring, going through every house, stealing everything in the house, and then trying to sell the stuff somewhere, making loads of money because in the Mages Guild, one thing I do remember, I knew how to make spells and how to enchant, but I wasn't clever enough to steal like the soul gems and all that stuff that was in Mages Guild in Balmora, so I paid for it. I actually made up the money for it, and I paid for it. I also remember becoming a vampire accidentally. I wandered around and to the northwest, to northwest or east, I don't know where it was. I think it was northwest side of Vandefell. There was a lot of vampire dens, so I remember venturing into that one and catching sanguine vampirism, which turns you into a vampire after a couple of days. So I was really confused. I couldn't cure it anywhere, and I was really confused. I was like, oh man, I'll have to reload again. Because the problem was that I didn't really figure out what's happening. Something reduced my stats, and I remember being hopeless. I just didn't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And this was at a time where I didn't have any internet, so I couldn't just download a language pack from a site or just look up what to do. So I didn't have any clue what to do, so I just became a vampire, and suddenly no one wanted to talk to me, and eventually, I don't know how I managed to do that, just me playing a game I don't understand, and I managed to figure out how to get cured of vampirism. So after, I think it was like 14 days of being a vampire, in real life, 14 days it took me to figure out how to get rid of vampirism, how to get cured. Eventually I did, and I was very happy. So I was just wandering around, and I was exploring everything. I had so many items. I had the biggest house in Balmora. I think it's the one, if you come to Balmora from the Imperial Fort, there is a Silt Strider to your right. Then you go forward, to your left there is a shop. Then to your right there is another shop, I think it was owned by an Argonian, who was the only shop who was okay with you trading skooma and moonsugar with him. After that you had Mages Guild, then you had the Fighters Guild, the Warriors Guild, or whatever it was called. And then you went straight and you took your first turn, the first left turn, you took that, then you took a right turn, and I think that's where the house was. This is how well I remember Balmora. This is how well I remember Balmora. I actually remember this. It's been a long time since I played that game. So that was the house. It was a massive house. And I remember going to a friend's house, and he was just like, oh, look what this guy all did, and he had internet, so we looked it up, and there were pictures of a guy, and he basically had collection of rare weapons in game. So he had like all the rare blades and maces and axes, and he had it so neatly organized. I really liked that. So the next day, or maybe even that day, I came back home and I started doing the same thing. But because I didn't have too many rare weapons, I was just like, nah, I don't have too many. Is there a point of me just making displaying them so neatly? So I started displaying everything, and I got almost every piece, or every item or weapon or armor in the game displayed in my house neatly on tables. I had a table with chitin armor, I had a table with glass armor and glass weapons, I had daggers, short sword, long swords, and everything basically. I had just a table dedicated to glass gear, then a table dedicated to ebony gear, to Daedric gear eventually, to the Dwemer gear, and all that stuff. I had all this stuff, and I had a really cool house. One thing I do remember was one of the rooms was my book storage room. And that was because the previous house I've put so many books in a chest that I couldn't open it properly. Every time I would try to open that chest, it would crash the game. So that was just like, you know, tough. So I made a room where I started throwing the books just on the ground and making huge piles of books. And eventually I had so many books that it crashed the game again, and I wasn't able to use that house again. So I was just like, oh damn. And after that I found even a bigger house. I think when I managed to murder the entire Vivek, the entire city of Vivek, I think I managed to murder like everything in there. So I started placing it down, and I was much more careful about that. I had a big note on top of the on the front page of the notebook, or the desk of the notebook, the hard cardboard desk. I had, do not put many items in one room or in house or something like that. And what basically happened, the quarters of Vivek had different things in them. So Vivek was basically my house. And in Morrowind this was possible. I think every single interior in Morrowind was safe. So you could potentially have it as a player house. They eventually got rid of this because it meant that the save files got ludicrously big. In Skyrim, every time I think a day passes in game or something like that, everything just resets. All the interiors reset. So, aside from the player housing ones. But in Morrowind, every interior was safe. So, potentially, you could have an entire city dedicated to your stuff if you kill everyone within the city. And that's what I did with Vivek. I tried so hard to kill the Vivek guards because I liked the armor. And eventually I managed to kill a Vivek guard and this was quite a unique plan. I remember sneaking and casting like Fury or Frenzy or something on him. He attacked me. I was stealthed, so he didn't notice. So he attacked me. I put a levitate spell on him. Then I had a staff with levitate, I think. So I levitated myself. He went after me, and because the levitate staff had longer duration, his levitate ran out faster, so he fell down. And it wasn't a crime because he died from fall damage, and he attacked me first. So this is how I got my first set. I opened the corpse, and my heart broke in half because the Vivek guard set was medium armor. And I had full heavy armor, I had full light armor, and I remember having 19 points? I think it was 19 points in medium armor, which means it's useless, it's shite. But it looked so fancy that I wore it anyway, and eventually I got my medium armor up to 100. And as time went, I was just like, damn, I really need a new house. I don't have a house. I'm wearing all kinds of shit. I have so much stuff on me. And I was just scared that I'm going to drop it somewhere and, I will just lose it. So eventually, I did the same tactic I did with the first guard. That is levitate, Fury, and then levitate on him and me. But his levitate is shorter. And I killed every guard on the outside of Vivek, and eventually I got so powerful that I managed to kill everyone inside as well. Now that took a lot of preparation, and I think I spent like hundreds of thousands of gold buying scrolls from the Mages Guild or something. I think I was buying scrolls actually from the Mages Guild and potions just to tank it up and blow them up with the craziest stuff I could find. And eventually Vivek became my house. Then the hardest place I knew about was the mountain in the middle of Vandenfell. So I eventually went there and I started exploring there. And when I went there for the first time, that was where I stole the first glass armor by safe scumming. Basically, I would save the game, I would sneak next to the glass armor, and I was waiting for the bartender to turn around or move, and then I would just snap it. And I think it took me like 2 hours to get a single piece of glass armor, and I just sat there trying to steal it for for hours and hours every day. I would be there for like an hour trying to steal all the glass armor. So that was pretty funny. But eventually I got up to the mountain, and there was a lot tougher stuff there, and I was just roaming around doing bollocks, but I never finished the game. I was just roaming. I explored the entirety of Vardenfell. I had every single region discovered, and eventually I pretty much killed everyone on the island. Aside from the characters that get unlocked, speak properly, by doing quests. Everyone else was just dead because I got bored. I was just like, man, I found everything. Let's just kill everyone. You either die a hero or see yourself become a villain. Yeah, that kind of thing. I was just like, explored everything, bored now. Let's just kill everyone. This is how I play every game. This is how I played Gothic 3 as well. I was just like, I did everything. I am the god, and I won the game. Let's just kill everyone. Okay, let's go. So that's how I did that. On my second playthrough, that was much, much later, many years later. I think that was when I was 20, and I was fairly competent at the English language. So I went through the game, and I did quests, and I found so many new places. And it was amazing. First of all, I tried to play the game with my old save file, which was not possible because I killed off so many quest characters and so many important characters that the game was literally impossible to finish because I just screwed it up too much, which is one thing I liked about Morrowind. And it would be kind of cool to have that in Skyrim as well, but it wouldn't work in Skyrim. Okay, because the NPCs have a mind of their own. Now, in Morrowind, quest NPCs would be locked inside a house, and they were safe. So the only thing that can kill you is you. That can kill them is you. Now, in Skyrim, if there's an important quest NPC outside, and suddenly a dragon decides to stomp all over the town, he's dead, and you're like, well, fuck. Suddenly you would get a message, you're somewhere around Windhelm, and it says, oh, Jarl Balgrove has died. And you're like, what the fuck, I'm nowhere near Jarl Balgrove. But, he just got stomped by a dragon somewhere else. So that wouldn't work for Skyrim, but for Morrowind it was amazing. And I never really understood what the message meant, because oh, hello. The message told you that the message told you? No, yeah. The game told you that you've killed an important character at the bottom of the screen. But I had no idea what it meant. Because I never did quests and I couldn't understand it. So I just kept killing them, They dropped nice loot, they had fancy stuff, and I wanted their fancy stuff. So that was my reason behind that. But on my second playthrough, it was much, much better because I finally understood English. And I just went through the game properly, and I spent, I think, somewhere around 250 hours exploring the game again and being much nicer to everyone, not killing anyone, talking to everyone, and once again exploring every part of the world, because I was just like, maybe there was a quest NPC there that I killed previously, and I want to find him and do his quest. So it was a lot of fun. By that time, I got kind of sick of the basically combat system, where in Morrowind, if you've not played it, every time the weapon skill worked differently. In Skyrim, if you have higher one-handed weapon skill, you do more damage, you have additional perks. Well, in Morrowind, it just meant that you might do, you will do more damage, but it also means that you can, actually hit with the weapon. So every time you would swing a weapon, it would roll a dice and give you basically yay or nay. So you would whack someone head on, he's in your face, you're swinging your sword, and you are missing. And that was really frustrating, but eventually the game bugged, and it just caused me to hit every single time I swung, and I had no idea why that is. By that time, I also got Tribunal and Blood Moon, which Blood Moon, for those for those of you who play Skyrim, is the Heartfire DLC is on the same island. Morrowind, you went there. You went to, oh, what it's called? Oh my god. I forgot what it's called. Doesn't matter. The Heartfire DLC island where you run around and you do things and you're fighting the I forgot that as well. Brilliant, brilliant. So, you went there, you went onto the same island, but it was a different storyline. It was about werewolves and stuff. And I understood that. Tribunal was an amazing DLC as well. And after that, I started modding the game. Finally, after many years and after about 400 hours, I finally started modding the game, and it added new stuff that I could go through. And some of the Morrowind mods were actually amazing. I remember one. It was an island to the south of Vardenfell, and there were these massive mushrooms, and there was a new house. In Morrowind you had like House Talvani, and these were the different like clans. Basically, there were different houses. So there was a new house there, and there was the entire new set of quests, and it took you onto an amazing adventure. There were new enemies and all this stuff, so I really enjoyed that as well. And after that, I was just like, look, I think I'm done with this game. I couldn't find, I remember that for the last 7 days of playing Morrowind, I was just running around and I could not find anything new. I was just like, yep, that's me done. And the playthrough clocked, I don't even know how many hours it was. It was over 200 hours. Definitely somewhere close to 300 hours. But that's how my Morrowind experience ended. I basically maxed all the skills. I finally understood what it means. I had, once again, after I did all the quests in Vivec and I finished everything, once again I killed everything in Vivec, which was much easier, because Morrowind, if you have the knowledge, you can do crazy stuff in Morrowind. So once again, I killed everyone in Vivec and created a massive house where I had every single item in the game. And I know that because I went through the item IDs. One of the mods I had was item IDs, and I had every single item that was in the game in Vivec displayed somewhere. And that was my experience with Morrowind. It was an amazing journey, and I don't think I've played a better game, in terms of RPG. I still think my favorite game is Dungeon Keeper, the original one, and Deeper Dungeons and the Gold Edition, all that. But a favorite RPG? Morrowind. Morrowind is number one. And I thank you lot for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.